My name is Colin Rankine, Head Teacher at Homeschool Social Enterprise. Now, today's Bible story will be about David and Goliath. Now, David was just a young boy, but he had great courage. And you see, because they were poor farmers, he had to go out, his father would send him out to tend to the sheep. So David would have to wander around trying to steer these sheep from different green pastures. Now, back in those days, there was lots of fierce animals that wanted to eat the sheep. So David, being the youngest, he was only small, had to have lots of courage because he knew if a fox or a wolf or even a bear would come to eat up the sheep, then his family would go hungry and his family would not be able to eat through the winter months. So David was used to having his little sling because he was only small. He couldn't have a sword or a spear. So he'd have his staff, a shepherd's staff, and he'd have a slingshot. Now, a slingshot is a bit of leather cord with a patch on each side of the string. And what he'd do is get a stone and he'd swish it round and he'd practice hitting things. And this slingshot would get released and hit the wild beast. Now, David, because he was there many, many nights on his own and many days tending to the sheep, he got really good at doing this, at scaring away wild beasts. And he became a bit of a crack shot, really good at hitting things with these stones using his slingshot. So one day, while he was at home, before he went out to tend to his flock, his brothers, his elder brothers, had to go out and fight. Now, back in those days, if the king, which the king at the time was King Saul, asked for men to come and fight whoever was trying to invade their land. Now, at this time, young David, under the King Saul, had the Philistines. Now, the Philistines were a fierce army, a warring nation, and they wanted to invade David's land. So, his brothers, because they're older than him, went off out to fight these Philistines. Now, there they met the Philistines on a hillside, and the Philistines had a mighty army stretching for many, many miles. And the Philistines said to King Saul, "We will send our best gladiator, our best fighter, and you send yours this way. We don't have to fight. We can just have the two best fighters come together, and whoever wins, so be it." So David, who his father, came to him one day and said, "Look, I've not heard from your brothers. Please go out and give them this food and bring me news of what's happening with the battle." So David, being excited, ran. He collected the bundle of food and he ran off to where his brothers were fighting these fearsome Philistines. And he was expecting the worst. So as he approached his brothers and he went round trying to find where they are, and he found them and he said, "Here, my father sent you some food to eat. How is the battle going?" Now, at first, his brothers didn't answer him. And as he was waiting for their answer, as they were so hungry they kept eating, he could hear a fearsome roar where he said, "Come out and fight! Come out and fight!" And David said to his brothers, "Who is this shouting? Who is this voice?" And his brothers, looking up at him, said, "That is Goliath. He is a huge man, and we have to fight him, but only one of us. And we've been waiting here for a few days now for one of our soldiers to come forward and fight this Goliath. And David says, well, come on then, let's get on with it. Let's fight this Goliath. And David's brothers looked at him and said, look, you don't understand. You're just a little boy. This Goliath is giant, he's huge, and he's scary. And David pondered on this, thinking, well, look, I've had to tend to the sheep. I've had to fight lions, and I've had to fight bears, and I've had to fight wolves. And how fearsome can this man be? So he went to the king and said, I will fight Goliath. I know I can do this. And they laughed at him. And because David believed in God and he would pray regularly to God, he knew that his God would not let him down. So when David was out there tending his sheep, he wasn't just on his own. He knew that when you feel weak and you feel overpowered by a situation that's greater and it's worrying you, that through God, praying to God, he will make you strong. It's one of his promises that he laid down in his Bible. So David knew this, and he went to the king and said, look, I know my God will help me defeat this Goliath. And the king says, what am I going to do with this boy? Nobody else wants to fight him. And soon I'm going to lose anyway. So what do I have to lose? Let me just send this young boy. But I'm going to make the boy wear my armour. It's the best armour it is, lovely and shiny. And the sword, really sharp. Now then, David put on the king's armour. Obviously, the king was a big man. He was just a boy. So basically, he put on the helmet, which came past his nose, so he couldn't see anything. He had the shield, which he could barely pick up and hold. And he had the king's sword, which he couldn't even pick up. So he said, you know what? This really isn't going to work. King, I will go as I am. All I need is my staff and my sling. So, after great deliberation, the king said, come on, let's get this over and done with. May God be with you. Be gone and do what you have to do. So, as David walked through all these soldiers, his brothers, they were shocked that this little boy was fighting on their behalf. They thought, he's a mad boy. That this boy, how can he possibly beat this Goliath? So much bigger than him. So much trained as a warrior from he was a little boy and now he's a big man. Huge. Standing up to 8, 9 feet tall. And this poor boy was maybe only 4 feet tall. Less than half Goliath's size. But David knew God was with him. So as he walked through the soldiers and he marched through and he came to the hillside and he shouted to the Philistines, Goliath, show yourself, I will fight you. And Goliath heard this little voice, like, I think I've heard something from the other side. Let me go and have a look. So he put on his armour, he put on his helmet, and he had his sword and his shield, and he came out marching to see where this voice came from. And as he got there to the hillside, he stood there and went, who is it who's coming to fight me? And David looked at him and said, "It's me, I've come to fight you." And Goliath looked at him and laughed. "They sent a boy to fight me." And Goliath looked at him, and Goliath took off his helmet and he put down his shield. "I can barely see you, boy. Come closer so I can chop off your head." Now, David looked at Goliath, and as he walked closer, and Goliath was standing there big and proud, knowing that the battle will be over soon because this boy can't beat me. I'm a lot bigger than him, I'm stronger than him, and I can defeat this little boy, and they would have King Saul's kingdom. So as David walked towards it, this Goliath, he picked up some smooth stones on the way, put them in his pocket as he walked, keeping his eyes fixed on Goliath, stood there big and strong. And he said to Goliath, "I'm going to defeat you today. Today, you will die." Goliath laughed, said, "Enough with this. Come on." And as David walked forward, he put his stone in his sling and he went round and around with his slingshot. And he got closer and closer to Goliath. Goliath was completely unaware of what was to come next. And he let it go. And the stone went right forward and hit Goliath, bang, right in the middle of his forehead. Goliath fell down dead. Dead for one stone. God had answered David's prayer. There was Goliath lying there, dead on the floor. The battle was won. David was triumphant. His God had heard his prayer. And as the army, King Saul's army, saw what had happened, they let out a loud cheer. "Hurrah! Hurrah! Hurrah!" David had killed Goliath. And as King Saul's army surged forward now, knowing that victory was theirs, the Philistines saw that their Goliath was dead and ran away, frightened. And David went all the way back to Saul. He gathered the sword and the helmet from Goliath to give to the king. The soldiers helped him carry it back to the king, and he went to King Saul. "Here you are, my king. I have defeated Goliath, and the Philistines have fled." And King Saul said to David, "Your God is truly a wonderful God. And thank you. And all that I have, I will share with you." The end. Now, children, if you've enjoyed this Bible study, please get an adult to email Colin Rankine, head teacher at Homeschool Social Enterprise, and the email address is down on the bottom here, which is homeschool@live.co.uk, and I will send you a free mini Bible, which is this one here, free mini Bible, and on page 52 it has the Lord's Prayer. It teaches you how to pray, so when you're having problems and you feel that there's no one else you can turn to, page 52, it's called the Lord's Prayer. It teaches you what you should say. So, God bless you, and I'll see you again. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.